Good morning, everybody, or good evening, depending on your time zone. I really hope you are doing fine. Well, my name is Lucrezia Caone, and I'm the coordinator of GLOSOLAN. For those of you that do not know me in person, many thanks for making time to this meeting. We are starting now. First of all, I would like to apologize for those of you that connected 1 hour before the given time. In Italy, we changed time a week ago or so that we should be in chat time now. But in any case, please refer to the same time for the meeting tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. We will always start at the same time. I'm very sorry if you connected a bit earlier than the due time. I'm sharing my screen so that we can please mute your microphones as per the instructions provided by Filippo, and rename yourself so that when we give you the floor, we know who we are giving the floor to, and it's easier to give you the floor. So we have 3 days, 3 very busy days of items. After the opening of this meeting that will be given by Mr. Ronald Vargas, the Secretary of the Global Soil Partnership, and Ms. Naugman Subanang, the Chair of GLOSOLAN, we will have a quick look at the work performed by GLOSOLAN over the last year. So we will have some updates, but also an important part on decision making. We have to review the way GLOSOLAN is making decisions, because the GLOSOLAN is growing so much and so fast that we need to be organized in order to give the same opportunities to all countries. So in order to make fair decisions to all. Please don't draw on my screen. I don't know how is that happening. So under item 1, there will be a poll that will allow you to make a decisions. Most of the decisions during this meeting will be made through online polls, meaning that at some point on your screen, you will see a box with a question and some options that refer to the decisions to make. And you just need to click and submit the answer. And this will very much facilitate the decision-making process throughout the meeting. Anytime you can raise your hand to take the floor or write in the chat, and we will read what you write loud for everybody so that we are organized. We have over 600 participants at this meeting, so organization is really critical to progress and proceed with order. After the introduction or the overview to what GLOSOLAN achieved and over the last years, we will have a presentation on the work plan that GLOSOLAN decided to implement on soil spectroscopy. And then I will present you the new GLOSOLAN webpage so that you will know where to retrieve all the type of information you might be in need of. And we close today with the report on the activities implemented or planned in each regional soil laboratory network. Tomorrow and Friday are really about decision making and endorsement of documents. Tomorrow, we will have the review and endorsement of the GLOSOLAN terminology. This is a document you all received by email. At least all GLOSOLAN members, so laboratories registered in GLOSOLAN, received this document for review over a month ago. The deadline for submitting your reviews was the 4th of November. So if you submitted your review by that day, we surely included it in the final document. Then my colleague Filippo will introduce you to the establishment of the National Soil Laboratory Network. This is one of the core activities GLOSOLAN is promoting this year. And again, under this agenda item, we have the endorsement of 2 documents: the terms of references for the establishment of the National Soil Laboratory Network, and the guidelines on how this network could be established. After that, we move to a presentation on the Global Soil Laboratory Assessment 2020, so laboratories, capacity, and needs. This is another document that I sent you all by email. over a month ago, and I kindly ask you to confirm the information on your country profile. So we will have a quick look at the main conclusions or outcomes of this document. And then the GSP Secretariat will move forward with its final editing. So we will review a bit the writing style and publish it online so that you can all access to it and use it also for raising awareness on your country needs and the capacities also within your government or to approach donors. This item will be followed by a discussion on the need to review the FAO Soils Bulletin 74, that is about guidelines for quality management in soil and plant laboratories. And then we will change completely topic. We will start talking about soil biological parameters. Two initiatives that agree to partner with GLOSOLAN, so to help GLOSOLAN on this topic, will present. So we will get to know them. And after that, we will define the work of GLOSOLAN on soil biological parameters. The day of tomorrow will be closed by the endorsement of the units of measure to using GLOSOLAN SOPs. Basically, we want to have a discussion on it and make a decisions on how our SOP should be written in terms of units of measure, so that also in this case, we ensure harmonization of the information in the SOPs. On Friday, we have the endorsement of the GLOSOLAN SOPs that were produced this year. So in 2019 and 2020, we have about 10 SOPs harmonized this year. The discussion will not be really on reviewing the documents and endorsing them during the meeting, because this is too much work to do. We did it last year and it took us quite some time to do it in person at the previous GLOSOLAN meeting. This year, what we will discuss is most about the procedure to endorse the SOPs. And I will not anticipate anything. So on Friday, you will learn more about this item. But after the endorsement of the SOPs, we will move into the identification of the SOPs to harmonize next year. So in 2020, 2021. Then we have a very nice presentation from one of our members and partners from Russia that will tell us about the work she and her institute did on the harmonization of one SOP, that is that on Turing for the assessment of soil organic carbon. This is very interesting because it refers to a double harmonization. So not only harmonization in terms of procedures implemented by different laboratories, but also harmonizations with other SOPs produced by GLOSOLAN, so that results are really comparable by using two different methods. We will close the day by talking about sustainability of methods, because we really want in GLOSOLAN to promote a transition toward the use of more sustainable methods. So we will talk about classes of risk, level of technology required and so on. And this also refers to a survey that you answer all by email. And my colleague Filippo will present about this item. And the day will be closed by a discussion on the development of pedotransfer functions that we initiated last year, but we did not really move forward in 2020. So we would like to review the work plan and really set the way to move forward, or then decide maybe to completely stop this activity. We don't know, we have to see on Friday. But the idea, of course, is that of moving forward in the best way possible. And the review of the GLOSOLAN work plan. I will be compiling the GLOSOLAN work plan for next year based on the discussion we are having throughout these 3 days of meeting. So it will be just a summary of what we agreed to implement next year. Now, without further waiting, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Ronald Vargas, the Secretary of the Global Soil Partnership, for his opening remarks. Mr. Vargas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Lucrecia. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all colleagues who are joining this meeting. Currently, we have more than 250 participants. Well, it is really my pleasure to open this fourth meeting of the GLOSOLAN. Indeed, it is the fourth meeting already, which shows that this network it moves from being an initial, let's say, initiative of many people who wanted to work together, but now is getting stabilized and very well rooted, so that it's a real network composed by more than 600 laboratories worldwide. And the idea behind this, when this was established in 2017, was exactly to first bring together laboratories in order to see how we can harmonize laboratories, protocols, processes, and with this, enhance capacities at national laboratories so that data that comes from these laboratories can be really used in a reliable manner for decision making. I believe these objectives have been already achieved in these 4 years, but still there is a lot more to do. I want to thank particularly the chair of this network, our great colleague, Nob Mane, who has been leading this network till its successful endeavor so far. And of course, I cannot mention and forget my colleagues coordinating this network. In this case, Lucrecia, who has been very active in pushing this forward, and now Filippo joined. But all this will not be possible without the commitment and the, let's say, buy-in from all of you. Because a network like this is only working if all of you are working and contributing to. That's why we are very grateful that we have most laboratories of all countries joining this network. Lucrecia already explained the very dense and packed agenda, but I believe it is very important to highlight some very core principles of GLOSOLAN, because the network is increasing in number, but also is increasing on expectations outside the network per se. At the Global Soil Partnership, I should tell you that this network is our main network, and we are very proud of how it has been growing so far. And I know that there are many colleagues behind this, more active people than others, but that's exactly one of the points that we need to make. GLOSOLAN will be successful and is successful because everybody matters. No matter you are a small or a big advanced laboratory, the important thing here is that all have the same, should have the same opportunities, but also same responsibilities, in the sense that everybody should be playing an active role in the implementation of GLOSOLAN activities. A network is strong if you are united, if you are together. That's why you have the Global Soil Laboratory Network, but we also have regional soil laboratory networks to bring the regional perspective into the network, because that's fundamental. And now we should move forward and consolidate the establishment of national soil laboratory networks, because that is how we will be able to bring the global actions into the national ones. And in reality, it should be the other way around. Therefore, we all kindly ask you to consider, if you didn't do it yet, establish national soil laboratory networks so that you can bring all what's happening in GLOSOLAN and reflect it at your country level. One of the main goals of GLOSOLAN is not just to create few or support few reference labs, okay? But we want to enhance the laboratory performance of all laboratories in the world. I know this sounds very, let's say, maybe ambitious, but I'm sure we can do it because you already demonstrated that this is possible. We want to have SOPs for most of the soil properties, not only the conventional ones, but we also want to enter into soil biological properties. We want to see the issue of pollution and trace metals, for instance, or trace elements, and so forth. GLOSOLAN has grown, not only focusing on these SOPs, but we also have now the spectroscopy group. We will be launching the INFA for fertilizer quality assessment. So as you can see, there is quite a lot, and we have many expectations by many users. But as I said, those three principles should be respected. And in line with that, we want to be very inclusive, and of course, we want to be fair. And that's why we need to review the governing and the decision making in GLOSOLAN. Lucrecia already explained it. We want you all feel part of this and that you are all contributing and you are recognized. We want to have clear procedures so that you are all fine when adopting an SOP, because that's fundamental. We don't want to have issues with that. And certainly, the units of measurement or measures need to be used in all GLOSOLAN publications. And for that, we need them to be harmonized. Otherwise, that's challenging, right? Harmonization starts from the lab. Otherwise, when people are using your data for mapping or decision-making, they need to harmonize it, and that's even more challenging. That's why we carry quite a lot of, let's say, reliable. We rely on you. So please take up that responsibility and help us out. Now, you will see today, or during these days, the global assessment of soil laboratories. I particularly pushed for this report because we want to mobilize more investment on this network. And I needed to understand what is the global situation on laboratories and ask donors to take a look to it. So we are grateful to all those labs and countries who responded, around 143. So with this information, what we will do is to raise awareness on the importance and the need to invest on harmonization processes, on capacity development, on enhancing equipment as well. So that's why this report is crucial, and I hope you will take a look particularly on how your country is reported. Finally, I would like to call again to all of you in order to continue this active role you have been playing in this network and to pave the way forward to make a GLOSOLAN stronger and stronger. We all rely on you, and from the Secretariat point of view, and especially from my side, we really support this network. As I told you, for us, that's the main network that we have in the Global Soil Partnership and in FAO, and we are very proud and looking forward to continue your success. I wish you a very successful meeting, and we hope you all will be happy at the end of it. Thanks a lot.
Many thanks, Ronald. It was very, very good to hear from you and have your contribution to this meeting. I would now like to give the floor to Ms. Nobmane Suwanang, the chair of the network of GLOSOLAN. Nok, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lucrecia, and thank you, Ronald, for a very positive on the GLOSOLAN network. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I hope all of you are doing well and are ready to join our fourth meeting of the GLOSOLAN today. It is not so good as we cannot make it to meet each other by face because of the world pandemic, but I hope that the situation will be better and can come back to our normal mode. This year, the fourth meeting of the GLOSOLAN took place virtually, but this gives the opportunity for many labs that register to our network can join and share their experience with us. Let me inform you the objective of this meeting are to inform the global lab on the GLOSOLAN progress and way forward. And we also use this floor to define the criteria for the decision making in GLOSOLAN activity. For example, agree on the proposal on the harmonization of the SOP, the governance of the GLOSOLAN and LESOLAN, and also the performance of the national reference labs that need to be monitored and evaluated every year. And also how GLOSOLAN can interact with the other pillars like the case of the Global Soil Doctor program. Despite of the COVID pandemic situation, with the great team and network, we have achieved most of what we have planned last year, thanks to the involvement of the chair, co-chair of the LESOLAN, co-chair of the GLOSOLAN, the expert team, and also to all our members that kindly contribute to provide all information as requested by GLOSOLAN Secretary during the year. So thanks a lot. And please don't boring to us as GLOSOLAN still in the state of the gathering of the lab capacity in order to serve as a base for support you whenever in need. And also as Ronan already mentioned to you, GLOSOLAN works in the global challenge for building and strengthening the capacity of the lab in soil analysis and to respond to the need for the harmonizing soil analytical data to ensure that the evidence-based decision-making for sustainable soil management. The work of the GLOSOLAN supports the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, and the mandate of the FAO on food security and nutrition. The success of the GLOSOLAN work relies on your strong commitment and your ability to uptake and downscale GLOSOLAN activities and harmonize protocol. So for those who already established the National Soil Lab Network, please help us to update the National Soil Lab webpage so that donors can see and support us in the field that they are interested. In 2019, the GLOSOLAN provides great priority to the global concern on climate change by harmonizing the SOP for the carbon, either the organic and inorganic form, as well as the soil sample pre-treatment, and by testing the lab performance of around 100 labs worldwide. So before I hand over to Lucrecia, let me remind you once again that good quality data are pivotal to make wise decisions. There is still the need for the harmonizing, assessing, and monitoring soil data through GLOSOLAN. Remember that improvement of soil testing results quality can begin by obtained at low cost, but need a change in daily attitude. And it is everybody matter. All members should play a role on it. And the last message that I would like to provide is that the main goal of the GLOSOLAN activity is not to have someone top-level lab, but to promote and improve the performance of our lab and not left someone behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nok. It was very inspirational, as usual. Now we are about to start, but before starting, I would like to ask you to please turn on your camera and make a big smile because we will take a group picture. So please turn on your cameras and smile. Okay, Filippo, you tell us when you are ready to take the screenshots.
Yeah, I'm starting. Just there are so many people, so we have to, it takes a little bit because I have to move from one screen to the other. Right, huh? Keep your smile on. Almost done. Okay, done. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Filippo. And now we immediately start with the agenda. So I would give the floor once more to Nopmane for her presentation on item 1. Nok, you will be sharing your screen, right? Yes.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lucrecia. So today I have the opportunity to report you about the work that already performed by the GLOSOLAN in 2019 to 2020. Let me remind you that the GLOSOLAN established in November 2017 in order to strengthen the performance of the lab through the use of the standardized methods and protocols, harmonize the soil analysis methods so that the soil information would be comparable and interpretable across labs, countries, and regions. We also aspiration to provide a certification for the technical competencies in lab analysis. So for the harmonization of our work of the data and for building the capacity of the lab in soil analysis, we have set our work into 4 main areas. The first is the quality assurance and quality control. In this work, we have execution of the external quality control by providing a global proficiency testing in 2019. And we also provide a training on the execution of the internal quality control. For the SOP, we have made the harmonization of the SOP for 5 parameters. And in this year, we will have more around 15 SOP that we will endorse it. Training on the implementation of the GLOSOLAN SOP and also training on the safety and health. For the equipment, we also organize a training on the equipment use, maintenance, and purchasing. Establishment of a donation bartering system. By this system, you can donate the equipment that you want to replace it to the other labs that are interested, or you may want to barter your equipment that you cannot operate or cannot well train or maintain of that. So this system is give you an opportunity that you can donate and also barter of the equipment. For the field of the spectroscopy, because we got the request from the for the GLOSOLAN to accept the challenge to work on the topic of the harmonizing of the fertilizer quality and safety standard. After identifying the national and regional lab and entity working on the topic, an international board on the fertilizer analysis, shortly INFA, will be established. And we will kick off the first meeting on 8 to 9 December this year. For the last one about the fertilizer quality assessment that I already mentioned to you is INFA, and we will organize the meeting on 8 to 9. So now we have almost 600 labs that already registered in our network. So you can see the sharing between the all region. We have quite a lot number on the Europe and also the Latin America. So this first present you a very quick code of the GLOSOLAN from the starting, as Rona already mentioned to you. We starting from very base, very ground. No? But now we are very top because now we have almost, this one is updated on 20 October. So now we have almost 600 labs that already registered in our network. So we are all very proud of this work. And how does GLOSOLAN work? GLOSOLAN, because of the growing of the GLOSOLAN network, we have more participants. And also the work from the GLOSOLAN need to be downscaled to the regional. So the national focal point to the Global Soil Partnership nominate a lab to serve as the national reference lab. This national reference lab is tasked to establish the GLOSOLAN for its country. And the National Soil Lab Network now is already established in some countries like Philippines and Thailand. Every year, the work plan of the GLOSOLAN is designed at its annual plenary meeting, usually in September and October. The report available on the GLOSOLAN website. So for those who already just newcomer to the GLOSOLAN, you can come to visit our website and read our report in the previous meeting. So for the GLOSOLAN work plan in 2020, publication of all the documents approved at the third GLOSOLAN meeting. We already working on the document on the basic guideline on how to produce a sample for the internal quality control, basic guideline on how to produce a sample for the PT, questionnaire to identify potential PT soil sample provider, and also individual lab schedule reporting template. So 5 SOP already endorsed, you can see for organic carbon and inorganic carbon. So this work is already published in the GLOSOLAN website. We also identification of the regional leader to serve in the different working groups so that we can gather all the comment on our idea from the different region. And this is also already implemented. For the regional soil laboratory network, we have established of the regional soil lab network for the NENA in June 2020, and inclusion of the active lab into other GLOSOLANs. Organization of the annual meeting of the SILNET, AFRILAB, GLOSOLAN, GLOSOLAN, and ASPEC. This was done during June to October. For the National Reference Lab and National Soil Lab Network, we have prepared a term of the reference for National Lab and provision of suggestion on how National Soil Lab Network can be established. This implemented. National Lab to support and report on the action they took to promote the GLOSOLAN and establish the National Soil Lab Network. Division of the National Reference Lab, this is partly implemented. Some National Reference Lab did not complete the monitoring form. So please support us by sending us the feedback of this form so that we can making more comparable and also have more information that we can making a report of that. Publication of information on National Soil Lab Network on the GLOSOLAN webpage. The creation of GLOSOLAN is already ongoing. For the GLOSOLAN PT, we have issued the certificate for the participation in the GLOSOLAN PT in 2019 and the individual lab schedule report to all labs that participate in it. This work is done by our expert, Dr. Christian Hartmann from IRD, to prepare the individual statistic analysis sheets. And this is already implemented. Publication of the GLOSOLAN PT 2019, this work ongoing. Writing of the guideline on how sample of the GLOSOLAN PT should be prepared, including the label, code, irrigation. The guideline should contain what need to contain, how results should be submitted. This is already implemented by our colleague from UK, Dr. Sean Going from the BGS. To ongoing, not pending. Publication of the GLOSOLAN PT 2019, and also the cookbook on the how PT results are statistical, analyzed, and graphical reported. So now for the proficiency testing or inter-lab proficiency test, in 2019, as I already mentioned to you, we have sent around 100 labs, but we got the response 85 labs that sent us the result. The PT is done to access the lab performance. Specific objective of this PT is one to improve the network so that we can have the data that can be touched and be confident. Quality of the data need to fit for the purpose. The data that are comparable around the world. The GLOSOLAN produced a document. Our report. Our report of the PT, we will produce a very easy to read for the lab manager but also for the stakeholder and funders. Each page you will have a result and an explanation on why we measure that characteristic and what we learned from it and what recommendation we made. For example, this is the figure for the 4 most common parameters that we present it as a set score. Between the green lines, it means that your result is satisfied. Between green and less, means your result is questionnaire. And above or below the red one, it means that your result is unsatisfactory. So from this result, you can see that measurement of the pH is quite good. But for the EC, we still have, for the OC, we still have a big problem with many labs having the results too high. This may be come from the confusion between the organic matter and organic carbon when they send us the report. So to answer to our 2 questions, quality of the data, if I compare 85 labs around the world, what should be the quality of the data? pH and some others are okay, it's okay, comparable. But for phosphorus, that is not good. Outliers do not come from the bad chemical analysis. They come from mistake in transcription units and absence of the quality control before sending out the data. So improvement can be obtained at low cost, but needs a change in their attitude. I need to highlight again on these sentences. Are data comparable? Consensus value in the different regions were not significant different. So they were comparable, but the dispersion of the result was variable in the different regions. So the perspective of this, we plan to make a teaching theory of the good practice training for the implementation of the quality control. Organizing the capacity transfer between the labs, select the pilot labs that were the most performing and use them to train the less performing in implementation of the quality control procedures and learn how to implement quality assurance. Improve the estimation of the consensus value. GLOSOLAN has to implement new worldwide PT for the pilot labs and check their performance on a statistic point of view. Involve new labs in all regions to associate in our new PT to give the opportunity to access the performance. This can be done also through the regional network or specific network like saline soil, calcareous soil, or volcanic soils, because all these soil not much. So maybe it's the very big problem for some country. So maybe we can create a special PT for this group of this property. So the GLOSOLAN PT in 2019 result will be reported in the report of the first Global Interlab Comparison 2019 that will be published soon. Information on how the statistical analysis is done in GLOSOLAN will be in a dedicated cookbook that will coming soon also. So another work plan that we already done is develop an online system for the submission of the PT result in order to avoid the transcription and also to avoid that we have faced several problems when we got the result from our last previous PT. So we bring this experience and develop an online system to fix all of these problems. So this one is already implemented online system under the testing now. Develop a database, but this database is no open access because it was capturing the historical recording of the GLOSOLAN data. So this is restricted for access. Start collecting the soil sample to use as a GLOSOLAN PT by establishment of a warehouse of the soil sample at the FAO headquarters in Rome. So this, we need to call for all interests that have the capacity building to prepare the soil sample to be our PT provider. This will help us to support for the monitoring of the result of many labs. This one we also started, but hold because of the COVID situation. We also plan to launch GLOSOLAN PT in 2020, but this we need to cancel because of the COVID situation. So for the GLOSOLAN's future PT, unfortunately, it was not possible to organize any PT in 2020, as I have already mentioned to you because of the COVID situation. However, GLOSOLAN will do its best to organize another PT in 2021. But the question is that who will provide the soil sample for this GLOSOLAN PT in 2021? Are Portugal and Brazil still available as the sample providers, or anyone else interested to be our PT provider? Submission of the PT results, as already mentioned to you, FAO invests to develop an online platform for the submission of the PT result. Each lab participate to future GLOSOLAN PT will receive a unique PIN. This PIN should be used to log in. Please remember that the application will allow the user to log in, log out, save change, review data. But once the user presses the complete, data cannot be changed anymore. The PIN will become inactive. So, Lucrecia, you want to present this because you can give more information on this what application?
Sure. I tell you next when we have to move to the next slide. So as Nok mentioned, well, now we give you an overview of how the system will work, no? This online system. So as mentioned by Nok, we will send to all countries and all labs that are participating in the PT a unique PIN code that you have to enter in the first screen of the app. So here where it's a unique identification code. So you enter the code, you can even copy paste it, and then the system automatically brings you to the next screen. So next slide, please. So in the second screen, you have details on your laboratory. So the address, the country, and the contact information of the head and contact person in the lab. Still, on each screen of the app, you will always have the opportunity to go back to your profile and to log out, okay? In case you want to log out and then access from another computer, for example. Then please check this information and then start submitting the results. So you will have one screen per each soil sample we will send you. And in here you will have, press the animation, Nok, please. So you will have the sample name, because we will send you samples that are named, so they will not be like blind that you don't know what you are receiving. So you will have a sample name, and per each sample name, you should enter the results of your measurement for the parameters. Now, can you go to the next slide, please? Here, you have the sample name, number or code. Then you will have the parameter to be measured with information on the method to be used and the unit of measures to use. Okay, so that you don't get confused, or we reduce the occurrence of errors. Still, the system automatically will tell you when something is wrong. For example, on the use of comma or dots, there are some symbols that you are not allowed to use, but this will come with the instructions on the use of the app. And then, for example, last year we asked participants in the PT to divide the samples we send them into smaller portions, into 3 smaller portions. In that case, we will refer to them as replicas, but we are still working out this detail in the app, so don't take it for granted. But in case we ask you to repeat the measurement for a same soil sample and for a same parameter, you will have the space to enter these in the app. Next slide, please. You can move back and forward, so pass from one sample to the other and save the results that you enter. And this will also allow you to review the information you enter in the app. So you see previews, save draft, and next. Next slide, please. Once you are done with entering the data for the results of the analysis for all soil samples, you have to press complete. Remember, once you press complete and submit your answers, your results, you will not be able to change the values anymore. Okay, so this is very important. But let's say that you are done, you press complete, you will be brought to, next slide, to a screen that asks you for a feedback about your experience. For example, I did not analyze all parameters because we don't use this method, because the equipment is broken, because whatever. Next slide, please. So you can either type your feedback in the text box or choose among a list of selected feedback. Okay, so let's say you select your feedback or write your feedback, and then automatically the app will bring you to the closing screen. Next slide, please. That basically thank you for your contribution. And again, remind you about the details of your laboratory. You cannot change the details of your laboratory. If you see that something is wrong or not updated, please send me or Filippo an email and we will correct it in our database. So this is the app we are currently testing, and it will be available for the next round of the PT, hopefully in 2021. Knock, the floor is back to you in case there are no questions on this.
Okay. So for the GLOSOLAN PT, we also compilation of the survey or the national custom procedure and establishment of the open access database on the topic. This is already implemented. Launched in June 2020 and then available in our website. So thanks to all of you that helped developing it. But please help us to keep it complete and update. Check it, please. This is more like the database that we already established, the simple soil import legislation, in order to promote and facilitate the organization of the international PT and to assist all those countries with analytical capacity insufficient to cover their national demand to ship the soil sample to be analyzed abroad. We have created this one to support you. That will be easy and easy for the process. So you will need to cross-check of the database and updates if you think that the database is not updated. Start the preparation of the video on how to implement the GLOSOLAN SOP and the best practices. Unfortunately, because of the COVID situation, so we have delay because of this. But however, the first video is being recorded in Thailand by the Land Development Department. So thanks to Land Development Department for starting to do this. Preparation of the conversion table for the unit of measure to be used in the GLOSOLAN SOP or enclosed SOP should be edited according to the table. This one is ongoing to be discussed during this meeting. So as already mentioned to you, this year we have organized, we have prepared several SOP to be harmonized. 14 SOP already harmonized, and we have because of the COVID situation. So actually we endorse it in the meeting because we meet it by face-to-face, but this year is specific. So we will inform you later how we are going to harmonize this SOP, and when it's ready, we will inform to you. So of this SOP, you can read from here. Only the particle size distribution that the harmonization of the SOP is postponed because of the technical problem. And we also start the work on the health and safety. By training on the topic were given at the GLOSOLAN meeting. So for the fertilizer quality assessment, we have launched an online survey to identify the lab experience on the topic, which usually have agreement with the national government. So this is implemented. Establish a working group in the national board on the topic and have a preliminary discussion on the way forward. This one already implemented for the preliminary discussion throughout 2020. Launch meeting of the International Network on Fertilizer Analysis will organize on 8 to 9 December 2020. So organization of the dedicated workshop. For the petrotransfer function, process mapping and the spectroscopy. Continue the work on the petrotransfer function for the organic carbon and set up the work for this transfer function on the electrical conductivity and Bow density. This was led by our colleague from USDA, Dr. Richard Ferguson. But this one, last year, Rich already present the work that we have gathered from the information from our member. But this year, we have no progress on this work. Provide the technical input to the pillar for data for mapping indicator. Provide and on the request, inventory on the information and the capacity GLOSOLAN member need have on spectroscopy, completion of the spectra soil data need and the capacity questionnaire. The steering committee on the spectroscopy is already done this work. So this work is already implemented. Development of the guideline on lab spectroscopy measurement. This one is ongoing. And identify of the metadata shortlist. These are also implemented. For the equipment, explore the possibility to establish a donation system in GLOSOLAN. This already barter and donation system established. You can come to our website if you are interested on that. Explore the possibility to establish a barter system between the lab in different countries. Explore the possibility of the GLOSOLAN to work with the equipment manufacturer. This one, because of the COVID, we have delayed the work, but it's ongoing. Eventually, we also purchase new equipment to the lab in need based on their performance in the GLOSOLAN PT. Priority should be given to the training. This one is implement and evaluation of the offer is ongoing. Survey the possibility to establish the regional soil lab in which invest the budget available for purchasing the equipment. The work also ongoing. So for the other work, we have started training the lab. The GSP Secretariat asked the GLOSOLAN for input on the training they need of the most. Implemented project proposals were written to support some countries and regions already. Seeking for new donor by contract manufacturer, postponed due to the COVID situation. Launch the completion and analysis of the answer on the survey of the future of the soil lab. This survey launched, but we received very few answers corrected. So if possible, please respond to our launch of this survey, please. Writing of the GLOSOLAN terminology. This one is already implemented. Presentation of the resolution for the international exchange of the soil sample for the research purpose under GLOSOLAN for the, this one is already endorsed in the meeting of the 27th session of the Committee of the Agriculture. So the way forward, we will announce you soon, but it's already implemented. So this is the example of our proposal that already endorsed by the committee. This one is to acknowledge and recording about the difficulty encountered by the GLOSOLAN in exchange soil sample for the executing of the inter-lab comparison in many countries in like Latin America and Asia. This is just for the example, but I think that most of the countries, they also have their regulation. So the system of the simple that we already created will help to ease for this solution. Because of the GLOSOLAN is going so much and so fast, we should better think about how decisions are made within the network in order to ensure a fair representation and equal opportunities to all members and countries. So the proposal on the harmonization of the SOP is opinion on the SOP to harmonize. This one can be done by the GLOSOLAN members under the GLOSOLAN meeting. The decision on the SOP to harmonize or GLOSOLAN member in the GLOSOLAN meeting. For the writing of the SOP, the working group composed by the regional leader and the global leader will take responsibility for that. Review and endorsement of the SOP, we will have a review panel, one panel per each SOP, or global SOP leader to be part of this panel too. SOP present at the GLOSOLAN meeting for the information before publishing. So we will have a poll, right, Filippo? Hello?
So maybe we can quickly re-ask them, or actually restate the proposal about the writing of the SOPs from the very first, from the proposition of the SOPs to harmonize to the writing to their endorsement. So I hope this is clear for all. So the opinion on the SOPs to harmonize will be collected at the resonance meetings. The decisions on the SOPs to harmonize will be made at a meeting like this ones, so the GLOSOLAN meeting. Then the writing of the SOPs will be taken care by a working group composed by regional leader and one global leader. This is what we have been basically been doing so far, so nothing changed. What is new in this proposal is to have the review and endorsement of the SOPs done by a few people only, grouped under a review panel. And this review panel will also be composed by the global leaders for the writing of the SOPs. This is the main change. So we will not send the draft SOPs to all laboratories for review anymore. This is because we noticed that laboratories, not all the reviewers, but most of the reviewers send us comments that do not take into consideration the work that has been done by the working group, so the harmonization work, but they just keep on sending their national procedures. Or in some cases, they take the draft SOPs that also look very bad, honestly speaking, in terms of formatting. And so they take them as final documents. So they start implementing these SOPs. And we don't want to create confusions among the GLOSOLAN documents and the procedures to implement. So that's why we are proposing to have a review panel for the endorsement and review of the SOPs. And people, of course, can volunteer to be part of this review panel. Of course, it cannot be too big, but we want to ensure regional representations, regional balance. So there should be at least one person per each region that is using that specific SOPs, because in some region, some methods we are harmonizing are not used. So in that case, the region do not need to be represented. We just want experts that really take into consideration the harmonization work done by the working groups. And if you agree on this proposal, then the SOPs will be presented to GLOSOLAN for information before being published on the website. So this is the proposal. If you have any question before we proceed with voting, you can either raise your hand. I see that Bayer has her hands up for quite some time. I don't know if Bayer, you want to say something, or you can write in the chat. If not, Filippo, launch the poll, please. So now you should see like a box popping up on your screen with the questions, if you agree on this proposal, and two options, yes or no. So please select what better reflect your thinking, and we keep the poll open until we reach majority, and then we share the outcome with you all.
Okay, reach 51%.
Yeah, we have a tough majority. So I think we can close it. So yes, you endorse this proposal. Thank you so much. So now you can move to the next decision making.
Yes. Because of the GLOSOLAN is growing, this one we also propose on the GLOSOLAN and LESOLAN governance. Only the National Reference Lab can vote for the chair, vice chair, and if any steering committee. The performance of the National Lab need to be monitored and evaluated every year. All National Lab need to complete the related evaluation form.
So again, maybe I can add something to explain this proposal. As mentioned during the opening of this meeting, now we have about 600 laboratories registered in GLOSOLAN. So these are some implications in terms of regional and national balance, meaning that there are countries that are maybe very big and invest a lot in soil analysis and have hundreds or even thousands of soil laboratories. This is what we saw also in the global assessment. Otherwise, there are countries that are small and maybe they don't have so many soil laboratories, or it even happened that they have only one laboratory in the country. Now, when it comes to voting, you see that big countries or countries that invested a lot in getting their labs to register to GLOSOLAN can have 50, or we have cases with like 60 representatives, while other countries have only one. So if I ask if we ask all the members to vote, there is an imbalance because some countries would have more power than others. So for voting, for deciding the governance of Resonance and GLOSOLAN, we thought to give the vote to only one lab that should be eventually the National Reference Laboratory, so the one appointed by the government of that country to represent the country in GLOSOLAN and coordinate activities at the national level. So the proposal is this, to give basically the vote to, or actually decide that only national reference laboratories can vote for the governance of the global and regional networks. Still, we have to strengthen our monitoring of the performance of national reference laboratories, because I can tell you that not all of them are performing in their role. And that's also not fair toward the other labs in their country that work very much. So the precondition here is that all national reference laboratories need to complete the annual monitoring form before getting the right to vote and officially represent their country. Still, we are investing on the establishment of the National Soil Laboratory Network, so that through these national networks, all laboratories can express an opinion on in this case, the governance of Resonance and GLOSOLAN, that then is expressed through their national reference laboratory. So this is a bit the background behind this proposal. If there are no questions, again, we can proceed to the vote. Filippo, please. So do you agree on this proposal? Yes or not, again? Okay, majority again say yes. So thank you very much. Proposal endorsed. Nok, you can proceed to the next item.
Yes, but it's not go. I don't know why.
What?
No, it's not go.
Click.
No. Don't know what happened.
Ah, okay.
Okay. So the next one is the proposal on the writing of the technical documents. All GLOSOLAN member can express an opinion on the technical documents GLOSOLAN should write, and establishment of a technical committee to review the proposal made by the GLOSOLAN and GLOSOLAN on the writing of the technical documents. Approve or reject the proposal, decision to be reported to all GLOSOLAN members. Advice on how to write the technical documents. Working group will establish to write this document as usual. Endorsement of the technical document by the GLOSOLAN member at the GLOSOLAN meeting. So again, please more detail to our participant, please, Lucrecia.
Yeah, so basically here again, we have the problem that some members eventually misunderstand the purpose of some initiative, or do not have actually the technical competence to comment on some documents. In short, they say yes, but maybe they don't know what we are talking about. This is something I'm telling you because it's something we noticed. And it's not the fault of anyone, but still we want to make sure that the work plans we endorsed actually are technically sound, and also that we don't charge of work people, because at the end it's always the same people that is actively contributing in terms of writing documents with work that it's eventually not very much needed. So the proposal here is to establish this technical committee. This is the big difference in what we are doing now, that take up all the proposals moved by the regions and individual labs, technically evaluate them. So under a scientific point of view, we make sure that it makes sense for GLOSOLAN to work on this, and then approve or reject the proposals, of course, providing a justification in case of rejection. And then advise on how we can write these technical documents. For example, during this meeting, we will talk about the FAO guidelines, this bulletin 74. So also in this case, how are we going to write it? This is a very technical document. We need of experts that know the document, the original one, and know the work GLOSOLAN is doing at present, and advise on how we can move forward. Now, the technical committee has only the task to review the proposals and advise on how we can move forward. Then, as usual, we will establish working groups to write the documents. And in this case, the number of experts involved can be larger. The idea here is to have the technical committee composed by a few people only. I would say maximum 10, but you can have an opinion on this. And then again, the endorsement of the technical documents will be done as usual. So through this meeting, for example, the annual GLOSOLAN meeting. I'm not sure if there is another slide after this one, no? Yes. Indeed, the composition of the technical committee. Well, the proposal is that the GLOSOLAN coordinator, so in this case me, will open a call. I will send you an email basically, in which I will ask you if you're interested in being part of this technical committee. You see, we keep it very open so that everybody that is interested can send an expression of interest. We evaluate it, and at the end, we compose this technical committee based on the technical competence of the applicants and the time that they can commit to the work. Because this takes time, and you should take this into consideration. You already have your routine work to do. So this is something on top of your busy agenda already. So this is the proposal. Please tell us if you agree on it or not. And if not, or if yes, whatever, you are welcome to make suggestions on how to improve it. This is just a proposal. Please launch the poll field. You close it, right?
Yes, I'm sharing the results.
Okay, so proposal endorsed. Thanks so much. Knock, last slide.
Not go again. I don't know why. Yes, okay.
Okay, so maybe if you want, I can help you with this.
Yes, yes, please.
This is the very first slide of this presentation item, and it refers, it's not about decision making, it's just for information, and refer to the link that the GLOSOLAN could have with another program of the Global Soil Partnership, that is the Global Soil Doctor Program. And in the meeting today, there is also my colleague in charge of this program, that is Carolina Oliveira. Here you have also her email address in case you want to contact her. So basically we are talking about a program that is about farmer to farmer trainings, and that's to be implemented through local promoters with the GSP support. It's on a volunteer basis. So interested farmers in the community receive general training, and the selected doctors, soil doctors, that are the trainers, the farmers training, in charge of training other farmers, they are called soil doctors, we receive a higher level training. And then they will provide it with the toolbox. The toolbox is composed by an implementation manual, a soil testing method manual, and education material. Additionally, the GSP is exploring and testing the possibility to provide to these soil doctors, so to these farmers trainers, a soil testing kit. And here it's where the link to GLOSOLAN can be done. So in this case, the proposal is not for GLOSOLAN to develop any soil testing kit or anything. And we are not talking about selecting the soil testing kit. The FAO is currently testing the soil testing kit that was selected in a few pilot countries. If it ends up that the soil testing kit is good, so it can be used on a larger scale, then the proposal is that GLOSOLAN will help, for example, to harmonize the SOPs for producing the reagents, or put the promoter of the soil doctor program at the country level in touch with laboratories registering GLOSOLAN, so that this collaboration can be established at the national level. So at present, this is, there is no commitment under the GLOSOLAN side, because my colleague is still testing the soil testing kit, but it's something eventually for the future, and it's for your information. So in case you are interested in this program, the soil doctors, please make contact with my colleague Carolina, that now I will give her the floor in case she would like to add something to what I said, since this is her program. Caro, do you want to say something? I lost her. We cannot hear you. Yes.
Hello, Lucrecia. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes.
I needed to went out. Yes, no, we count on this support, and to develop the kits and to test the kits, and also to prepare the reagents to go to the field.
Okay, so
the main idea for the moment. For the moment, we have very different steps to implement.
So in case any GLOSOLAN member is interested to contribute to this other GSP program, please contact my colleague Carolina. And I will share her email address with you all at the end of the meeting. And still, just to remind you that all presentations, video recordings, because we are recording this video, and other meeting material will be available on the GLOSOLAN website. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nok. Now I give the floor to, if there are no any questions, well, we are answering them in the chat already. If there are no other questions, I would give the floor to Fanny van Egmond from ISRIC, that is actually representing here the working group and the other working group leaders of the work of GLOSOLAN on spectroscopy. So Fanny, the floor is yours.
Can you see the screen and hear me? Yes?
Yes,
okay.
please go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm presenting on behalf of also the other working group leaders on spectroscopy, and also on behalf of everyone who participated in the first plenary meeting on soil spectroscopy. One small warning maybe on forehand is that I put in quite some slides. I will not go into detail for most of the, or for some of them, but I just wanted to provide you with the opportunity to read it back later and to go quietly for yourself into more detail, whatever needed, because the time is just too short to explain everything from a complete plenary meeting. Well, this is basically where we left off with the last GLOSOLAN meeting last year, when we were still able to go to Rome. We there had the session and the presentation on the establishment of a working group on lab soil spectroscopy. Then we made a working plan to have an inventory on the information and capacity of GLOSOLAN members on spectroscopy. This was also just mentioned by Nok. And development on the guidelines for lab soil spectroscopy measurements, so how to do these measurements in your own lab. Identification of a metadata shortlist. This is ongoing and still going on. And the second objective that we then projected to be more into the future was to include lab spectral data in GLOSIS, a global soil information system built by Pillar 4 of the GSP, as a global soil spectral library using agreed upon guidelines for measurement and estimation, and also calibration transfer algorithms for spectra measured with different machines. Because this last one it took a bit more thought, we had a smaller meeting a couple of weeks later in Lincoln, USA, hosted by the Kellogg's Soil Survey Lab in Lincoln. Where we elaborated these ideas a bit more, also with the institutions that offered to lead this working group in the beginning. So ICRAF, ISRIC, and the USDA. And during that meeting, we came up with an idea to start a global soil spectral calibration library and an estimation service that should also be accompanied by capacity building. And to just start and open the discussion on this idea, and to see if this would be something that is attractive for institutes and experts and users. We wrote it down into concept notes that you can find on the website. It was also accompanied by several news articles in April 2020. So also those articles are available on the website. Basically, the objectives of this initiative are to build a globally representative, calibrated soil spectral library. Spectral library is the same as a database containing spectral data and wet chem data of the same samples, based on MIR spectra, and also with everything measured for now in a gold standard reference laboratory, because this minimizes the differences between labs, between methods. We just have one set of methods in one lab with a very high quality. And this is essential to be able to build such a library and make it useful to start with. The second aim was to, based on this library, to provide a soil property estimation service, where basically you could measure a spectrum in your own lab, then send it to this estimation service and get an estimate of your soil property back. We also want to support countries to contribute to the GLOSOLAN Global Spectral Calibration Library and also to the estimation service. There are various ways to do that. I will go into detail later. To harmonize soil spectroscopy methods. So that is basically an SOP for how to do the sample preparation, the spectral measurement, and etc. And very important also to develop the capacities of countries and lab in the performance of these measurements, and also how to use them maybe in everyday lab work. The first aim that we identified in 2019 was to get a better idea of the current needs and capacities of labs worldwide. So what we did is we put together a questionnaire, translated with the help of FAO into 3 languages, and send it out to all of you, and also to pedometrics working group and some others, so related groups that also work on soil spectroscopy. We got quite a nice response, I think, almost 100 sorry, respondents from most continents and quite a number of countries. I didn't count, I think it's over 50. So that is a good response. And it was, well, a whole range of questions, basically to get an idea of who was already measuring spectral data, who wants to measure spectral data. If you don't measure it yet, what are the impediments to do so, and what would really help you to get this started? So for instance, capacity building, or help to get equipment, calibration samples, etc. When you're already performing these measurements, what would really help you to improve the quality of those measurements or the ease of those measurements? And also quite some questions on infrastructure. So how to then share your data or use shared data from others. This is a whole big wide list. At the moment, we're preparing a report. Filippo is also helping with this. And we hope to have a publication before the end of 2020. And otherwise probably soon after, which has all the details and you can read in detail later. Because there was so much attention and activity and interest in all of this, we soon realized that everything that we wanted to discuss was maybe a bit much for this GLOSOLAN plenary, also given that everything needs to be online this year. So we organized the first plenary meeting on soil spectroscopy. Basically, also to define the work plan for GLOSOLAN on soil spectroscopy. There was quite some things to discuss, so activities, timeline, partners, how to do this establishment of the library, the protocols, manuals, etc. Also try to figure out how GLOSOLAN will interact with other initiatives. There's a few others, and it will be good to spell out basically how we cooperate. And also how GLOSOLAN will interact with the countries and labs and institutions and organizations. So quite a number of them are already member of GLOSOLAN, but it's good to also think about the roles that everyone has. And then also the fourth goal was to define the governance. So how are we going to work together, exactly how we're going to organize. It was quite a success, I think. We had about 340 participants from over 60 countries worldwide. Nice distribution also when you look at the map. So apparently this was also something that was well, really supported. That was good to notice. And during after quite some discussion and back and forth during the meeting, before the meeting, we come up with a slightly revised proposal compared to the concept notes that we wrote before, on how this global library and also this estimation service should function, and how it also relates to GLOSIS. And just some main characteristics. This library contains of data, and these data will be consultable at a central portal hosted by FAO. This is to be built. Partners can work together on the development of the initiative and also of the architecture. So how does it fit together with the infrastructure? The ownership of the data remains with the data provider. And this is very important. You will always be in charge of your own data. And also, well, for now we will start with MIR, so mid-infrared, but in the future we also want to enlarge this to other spectra than MIR, so for instance near-infrared or others. A big area of concern, or open research I would say, is the calibration of data and instruments. There's a wide range available, and they all measure slightly different things. So also for that, harmonization and calibration transfer is needed for all of this to really work. Even when you use a gold standard lab, then if people measure their own spectra, they should do it in a way that is compatible with this gold standard lab. Otherwise, the prediction will be less valuable. The estimation service then will have as main characteristics that is using that global spectral calibration library. So you will use in-country measured spectra of new samples. According to this standard protocol, partners can work together on the development of the best calibration algorithms. There's various algorithms out there which have pros and cons, each of them. We also want to serve them through a user-friendly web-based interface. So it's very easy to handle and you don't need very advanced knowledge of code, for instance. The service should provide alternative models and also including downloadable desktop versions. For instance, if you don't have a very good internet connectivity, you should be able to use this. And all data will be open source and fair. And therefore, in that way, also really interact with GLOSIS. We discussed the different roles that countries, labs, partners, regional champion labs will have in this setup. So with regard to the library, the estimation service and GLOSIS, this I will not go into detail. You can read it back if you want. And also to briefly mention that this is a very, very big task. So we thought to divide the work a little bit in 2 stages. One where we establish the mere library and calibration service based on the USDA KSSL methodology and library and instruments. And the second stage will include also other spectrometers and spectral data. So if you have in-country spectral libraries, then that will be the stage where those can also be added and used. Of course, also using the necessary calibration. Very briefly on stage 1, what it encompasses is here we want to give the possibility for labs that accept the USDA open data policy. The USDA is by law required to publish all data that is measured at their facility openly. So that is non-negotiable. This will be openly published, which I think is a very good thing. So labs that accept that policy can send subsets of samples, for instance, from their archives or newly sampled, to the KSSL lab. They will, free of charge, then analyze them for wet and dry chemistry analysis. So, but we kindly ask to only send representative sets for each country, where we have defined sample submission guidelines. So if you're interested in that, we can provide more details. And really the aim of this is to enlarge this library, both spatial coverage and also spectral coverage, so that it suits all of our needs even better. If you cannot or are not in a position to accept this data policy, then of course you can still work on your own and contribute to do the guidelines, to the protocols, to use the capacity building, to start measuring, etc., etc. There's quite a lot to do apart from this as well. We will start building the federated system. Federated means distributed, which means you have a whole collection of different nodes in different countries that we will connect through the internet and make accessible through one portal. And we will also start working on calibration and calibration transfer, because this is quite vital for the whole initiative to work. And it's still open research. Very short example of how this could work is you have a lab. In this case, on the left, you see various spectra and wet chem properties measured by the KSSL, so the global library. And then an estimation service will be on top, which means that a spectrum measured in a lab, for instance in GLOSOLAN, can then be transferred through the network, this distributed network based on GLOSIS, to a user, can be of GLOSOLAN, can be of someone else. And then that is sent to this bigger library and the estimation service using the algorithms and the library that will return a clay estimate, for instance, can be also another property. That goes then through the user and also to the lab that measured the spectrum in the first place. This is just a very simple example of how that could work. Then the question, of course, is how can labs that are not using spectroscopy or with little experience collaborate? We made quite an elaborate table and more details on how this could be. All of this will be summarized in the meeting report that is ongoing for the meeting. Here you can already find the link to that report where it will be published as soon as available. Then quickly on the governance, the structure, the tasks, and the terms of reference that we discussed and decided upon. Basically, well, starting at the bottom of this figure, we have the countries and the labs, and we really need them to provide inputs for the writing of documents, development of tools, review documents as is needed. They will then interact with the working group, including partners. This can also be non-labs or experts in this field, international organizations not tied to one country. And they will then also write the draft of these documents, finalize them, and to be presented also at this spectroscopy plenary, and develop the tools for the countries and labs. The results of this are then presented, or the progress, to the plenary meeting on spectroscopy, where basically all GLOSOLAN members interested in spectroscopy and partners can discuss and review. And the results of that plenary is then reported to the GLOSOLAN meeting. And this is what I'm trying to do in this presentation right now. For each of these different groups, so for instance, the regional and champion labs, the working group on spectroscopy, the working group leaders, this was all discussed. What are their tasks and how do they interact? This is the short version. In the terms of reference, which were discussed and then revised and then endorsed at the spectroscopy plenary, you can find them in this link, which will explain a bit better which group has which tasks. As we do in the GLOSOLAN plenary, we also made a work plan for spectroscopy for the next years. This is just a screen number of the first ones, where green indicates that it's done and yellow that it's ongoing. This is the situation of, I think, last week, but yeah, please correct me if I'm wrong. I will not go into detail for everything, but I wanted to, well, show that quite some tasks are already either done or ongoing. Important to mention is that we have identified 3 working groups for now. One general one for all general matters on spectroscopy. One on the development of the spectral calibration library, and this includes also infrastructure, metadata, and everything related to that, data exchange. And then also a working group on the development of the global soil property estimation service. So this is more about spectral modeling, about calibration transfer. How are we going to build such a tool? And I think up till now, about 70 people registered to take part in these working groups. So the first meetings will probably take part somewhere at the end of this month, maybe next month. So that is ongoing. Also, an invitation was sent to all members or participants of this plenary to send samples to the USDA, and there are sample submission guidelines almost finalized to also make sure that this happens in a manner that is efficient and reasonable and allows to send samples in the first place. Well, quite some other activities. I don't think I have enough time to go through everything, so I kindly ask you to just read back on this also later. One thing that I just would briefly like to touch upon is that regarding SOPs, is that the first idea for SOP is to write down the procedure that is now in place at KSSL and harmonize that worldwide for measuring mid-infrared spectra on, in this case, Bruker instruments in the lab, because these are widely used. We learned that from the survey, from the questionnaire. So this is our first priority, and then later on we can see if we can add more. And also, well, this is a big project or work task that we have. So we also are trying to to write project proposals or to see how we can generate some funding. If you have ideas what would like to support, there's quite some things that we would like to do with this. So welcome to get in touch. And just to finalize, I would like to end with the same slide that I showed last year in the end, really to invite you to contribute and support this initiative. It's only works, I think, if it's a joint effort, and I think that has really materialized over the last year. We started with just a couple of people thinking, okay, you know what, this is really worthwhile to do, and GLOSOLAN would be the perfect environment to do this. And over the last year, so many of you have stepped up and said, you know what, I would like to contribute. I would like to support this, making it possible that we had this plenary assembly and that we really have a quite ambitious work plan that we want to materialize over the next couple of years. In the end, it's seeing is believing. So if we really start doing things and show you what we do, how well it works, how well it also doesn't work, at times, that's where we can make a difference. It's not a chicken with a golden egg. There are some properties that model very well. There are also other properties that do not model well. So it is not able to completely substitute wet chemistry measurements. This is important to mention. Not everything can be modeled well with spectroscopy, but there are quite some elements that are able to be modeled. And for those, we think this is a useful technique. And also, yeah, the soil sample archives that exist around the world, the current developments in computational and research, together all of this provides a unique opportunity, I think, to now get this going. A couple of years ago, this would not have been possible. But I think by now we are in the position to start doing this. And well, to our honest opinion, it provides a unique opportunity because for relatively low cost, it allows a collection of soil data for underrepresented areas on the map. So we can make better, better maps, better policy advice, better, well, information-based decisions. It's an opportunity for developing countries to get to cutting-edge methods, basically overnight if we organize this well. We can also leverage this initiative to overcome differences between groups, enable new applications, and also to really increase cooperations between pillars within GSP, different, well, different disciplines, different fields of work. It can foster a bridge. Thank you for your attention. I hope I stayed reasonably in time. It was a bit difficult.
Thank you so much, Fanny. It was perfect. And
Okay.
I'm giving you, I gave to you and Nock a bit more time because I think that your presentations were very important. And I will now try to catch up time with the next item in the agenda that is actually from me. And is a presentation on the new GLOSOLAN website that I really care to give you because we invested a lot in updating the website, not only us as GSP and FAO, but also you as partners, because we were helped in what we did. So I think all those that help us need to be acknowledged. And also I really care for showing you how to retrieve all the information you might need on GLOSOLAN. So you should be able to see my screen now. And I teach you from the very scratch how to get the information. So in Google or whatever browser you are using, you can type in GLOSOLAN or GLOSOLAN FAO, it doesn't matter. It anyway brings you to the main page. So click on GLOSOLAN of the Global Soil Partnership, and this brings you to the landing page. So what do you have on this page? Well, some background information with frequently asked questions. One of these is, what is the difference between a laboratory that spontaneously registers in GLOSOLAN and the national reference laboratory? This is something I'm very often asked for. So in here, just by clicking on top of the question, you have the answer to your question. Again, on this page, you have latest stories. So basically highlights, well, Fanny just presented on spectroscopy. So the last one we published is about the first plenary meeting on soil spectroscopy. Then you have an interactive map. By clicking on top of it, it zoom in, and you can really see all laboratories registered to GLOSOLAN. And for your country, you just need to zoom in into your country and see who are members of these labs. And by clicking on top of the lab that you're interested in, you also have information on this. Like this is just random, it's from Peru, you have the name of the lab, the contact person, the resonance, so the regional soil laboratory network the lab belongs to, and the region ID that you should not care about. Then you have an overview of network growth, so how much GLOSOLAN is growing over time. This is something that you might also find very interesting, are job opportunities. Some of our partners, or even FAO, have job opportunities that we post on our website. And in most of the cases, I also advertise them by email, so you should be well informed about it. And then information on the GLOSOLAN meeting. For example, I take the third meeting because it's the one in which we already have all the material uploaded. You click on the meeting of your interest and you're brought to a page in which you have all the presentations, the agenda, details of the event, photo gallery, the report of the meeting. And in the case of the fourth meeting, because you will have the same format for the meeting we are currently having, you will also have the video recording. Okay, so you can access all information on this page. Just click on the meeting you are interested in. And this setting applies to all the meetings of the regional soil laboratory networks as well. So if we go up again, here you have a side menu on the left. And before I move forward, let me tell you something. So the first page of GLOSOLAN is in English. No? When you Google it, you access to the version in English of the web page. But here on top, we are translating it in all the 6 UN languages. So Russian, French, Spanish, Chinese, and Arabic. So just click on the language of your interest and you will have all the information in one of the 6 UN languages. And thanks so much to all of you that are acting as translator for the web page and for the GLOSOLAN publications. We are little by little uploading them on the website. So thank you so much. Here, as I said, you have a side menu. If you go to soil analysis, for example, it gives you access to other 4 web pages. One is on standard operating procedure. Through this page, you can again have the answers to some frequently asked questions, like how are GLOSOLAN SOPs harmonized, and how we make decisions on the SOPs to harmonize. And then here you have what we call best practice manual. This is a online book that we are putting together over time, depending on the GLOSOLAN work plan, and it strictly refers to standard operating procedure. So for example, if you go to chapter 1 on site characterization, sampling, and sample pretreatment, here you have access to the SOP on soil sample pretreatment. If you go on chapter 2, it's on soil chemical analysis, you have access to the SOPs GLOSOLAN harmonized on carbon so far. These are 5 SOPs in total, so 4 on carbon and 1 on sample pretreatment. And these are the SOPs that we harmonized last year. Okay, the 10 SOPs that we are harmonizing this year and are in the very final stage of endorsement before publication will be published here. So for example, on potassium, on phosphorus, nitrogen, and so on. You just click on the volume of interest and here you have information and you can access actually the documents that will be in all the languages we managed to get them translated to. Quality assurance and quality control, this refers to the PT, but also internal quality control. We already produced quite some material, training material on how to produce soil samples for external and internal quality control, but also on samples to use in the GLOSOLAN proficiency testing. All of this is available on this web page. Again, you have frequently asked questions on the PT program of GLOSOLAN, and the key publications. In this case, you have the report of the first inter-laboratory comparison exercise done in 2018 in Asia and Latin America. And here we will also publish the PT report for the global, the global PT report we did the last year. And here you will also have the link to the online app that we show you in item 1, the one for the submission of PT results to GLOSOLAN. The link will be there as soon as we are finished with testing the platform. Health and safety, NOC mentioned that we already starting to implement activities on this topic by organizing trainings in the regional cell laboratory networks. We are currently working on developing material on the topic, and this will be uploaded on this webpage. Drug chemistry, Fanny just presented about it. Again, here on the related webpage, you have information on what is soil spectroscopy, some frequently asked questions, the concept notes as key publications that Fanny mentioned, latest stories, again, this refers to highlights, articles, and so on, and events. As per the landing page I show you, so you click on the event of your interest and you have the video recordings, the report, the presentation, and all related material. So also the report of the first plenary meeting on spectroscopy will be uploaded on this webpage. Fertilizer analysis, you should have all received an email from me about the organization of the first meeting of the International Network on Fertilizers Analysis, so INFA. This will be on 8 and 9 December. All material related to that meeting, key documents, and so on will be published on this webpage, so you can easily access to it through this. Of course, now the webpage is a bit empty because we still have to launch the network. Equipment, we already produced some training material that you can see is available already in English, French, Arabic, Spanish, and Russian. And this same format will apply to all GLOSOLAN publications. So you just need to click on the language you want the document to be in and download it. The barter and donation systems that Nopmane mentioned in her presentation is here. So information on how to apply for the program is here as well. And here you also have a map on the laboratories that are already benefiting on our investment plan on equipment. And just to stress one more, that the investments that GLOSOLAN is making in providing equipment to laboratories are strictly related to their performance in the proficiency testing that we are organizing. This is because we are giving great priority to training. So only laboratories that show not to need any training are given the possibility to get some new equipment based on needs. And again, here you just click on the country, and you have information on the laboratory, the PT, the laboratory participated to, and the equipment that we are donating to the laboratory, together with information on the status of delivery of the equipment and the donor that is actually paying for the provision of this equipment. Regional soil laboratory network. This is a bit of a copy of the landing page, but more related to regional characteristics. So here you have an overview of the regional soil laboratory networks we established. You can access to the information on these regional networks either through this link here or by clicking directly on the map. I take SILNAT because it's one of the, actually it's the oldest regional network we established, so the information are a bit more rich, but the same format applies to all regions. So you have information on the network, on the regional network, the list of countries in the regional network, again, the network growth, so you can see the growth of the network over time, information on the governance divided by year. The mandate for the chair and vice chair is 2 years in all regions. Key publications, again, if we implement something special in the region and we produce a document, we publish it in here. And information on the meetings as per all the other web pages, like the GLOSOLAN landing page and the spectroscopy webpage, but then this applies also to the page on the International Network on Fertilizer Analysis. Then something we are implementing now is the establishment of the National Soil Laboratory Network. This webpage is also on construction, and we are creating it actually thanks to the inputs you are providing to my colleague Filippo that is contacting you by email. So how will this webpage look like? Well, Filippo will talk about it in tomorrow or on Friday, I don't remember well, but ultimately it will look like the page we have on the soil import legislation database, which means that you will have general information and the drop-down menu that will allow you to go to the web page of the National Soil Laboratory Network in the country of your interest. And then, of course, key publications in the landing page again, like the terms of references for the National for the National Soil Laboratory Network, and the guidelines on how these networks can be established. The last page, that is the one that I'm showing you, is the one related to the soil import legislation database that we call SIMPLE. Here you have background information and also some notes that you should keep in mind when using this database. And again, as I mentioned before, a drop-down menu. You just need to, for example, to select the country of interest. In this case, I take Australia, to get information on the country, on the customs control procedure in their country. So the documents needed by the customs, country-specific remarks, and additional information that brings you eventually to official websites of the customs. Why is this database important? Well, it's important in case you want to participate or organize a proficiency test, an inter-laboratory comparison, no? Or in case you need to ship soil samples to other countries. You need to comply with the customs regulations. So this is the website. Whatever question you have, please let me know. I can answer them by email. And actually, we are also thinking to have some training video on YouTube on how to use the website, so that you should be well informed about it. Now we are a bit late on the agenda, but I hope to catch up. I would like to give the floor to the regions for their presentations, starting from Asia. So the presenter is Ms. Gina Nilo, the chair of SILNET. Gina, the floor is yours. You can share your screen. Gina, we cannot hear you yet.
A blessed good evening, everyone. Greetings from the Philippines. On behalf of the Asian Soil Laboratory Network, I am pleased to present to you the meeting report of SILNET. May I please request Sir Filippo to please flash on screen the presentation of the Philippines? Hindi pala niya na-ready.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Sir Filippo.
Can you see it?
Oh, yes, thank you.
You tell me when you want me to change it. Okay?
Yes, please. So we can move to the second slide. So next slide, please. The fourth SILNET meeting was conducted on June 30 to July 2, 2020 via Zoom teleconference. A total of 255 laboratory staff members attended, and these are the 17 Asian member countries. We have Bangladesh, Bhutan, Cambodia, India, Indonesia, Japan, Laos, PDR, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, Pakistan, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Vietnam. And we welcome the new member countries, Afghanistan and China. And at this point, I'm also pleased to recognize my vice chair for SealNet. From Myanmar, Ms. Susuwin, and also from India, we have Sanjay Isribastava. Next, please. And between the period 2017 to 2019, there are 96 laboratories under SealNet. Next, please. Okay. So for the SealNet meeting, we have set 4 objectives. First is to inform Asian laboratories on the progress of GLOSOLAN and the way forward, to train these laboratories on internal and external quality control, as well as the training on health and safety. Then the other objective is to define the position of SealNet in GLOSOLAN. This we did in 3 sessions. The first session is about the update of SealNet participants. Second is on the conduct of trainings. And the third session is about the position of SealNet in GLOSOLAN. Next, please, Sir Filippo. For the session 1 on the update of SealNet participants, so we thank God we have 2 new members, Afghanistan and China. And an online survey was conducted last May 2020 to update the SealNet on its laboratory capacities of the member laboratories. So the online survey consists of the information about the amount of the tests performed by each of these laboratories annually, and the type of analysis that are being done, the quality procedures that are in place in these PT programs, the areas for improvement of the laboratories, as well as the expectations of our laboratories on GLOSOLAN and SealNet. So here is the result of the survey. Next, please. So the result of this survey shows that in all of the 30 labs represented by the 12 countries who participated in the survey, all of these laboratories are performing chemical analysis, and very few for biological as well as physical analysis. And there are 17 number of these laboratories that have the ability to analyze more than 2,000 samples annually. Next, please. Now, with regards to quality control procedures, 60% of the laboratories implement quality control. That's a good news. And even good news is that 14 of these laboratories run a reference sample every batch of the analysis. And the other 40% do not implement quality control at all. Next, please. So for the registration of the laboratories to PT programs, 62% of the 19 laboratories are registered to the PT program, and there are 11 laboratories that are not yet registered to any of the PT programs. Next, please. One of the interests in the questionnaire is on the areas of the improvement of the laboratories. So the responses include that the areas for improvement is on the implementation of QC procedures within the routine laboratory work. And this is the main needs that was expressed by the respondents. Other needs include the staff training on a regular basis, in particular on the use of the equipment and adoption of standard methods of analysis, and the implementation of the harmonized standard operating procedures. There is also a need for the cutting-edge technologies such as the spectroscopy as just presented, the health and safety measures, the need for consumables and equipment, including a better technical assistance from the manufacturers, as well as the improvement of the management of laboratory waste material. So the trainings on quality control as well as on health and safety measures was addressed as part of the session 2 of the 4th SEALNet meeting. Next, please. What now are the expectations of the member laboratories on GLOSOLAN and SEALNet? So the expectations are to improve laboratory capacity by providing technical assistance and organizing a training programs, to harmonize the methods and the SOPs. Very good, because that is really our interest. To show knowledge among network members, both at the regional and global levels. To be involved in the organization of PT exercises. To be involved in the awareness of raising process in order to increase funding opportunities and persuade national government and institutions operating at the local level to invest in laboratories, and to be provided with the necessary instrumentation. All these things were expressed by no other than Sir Ronald Vargas and Ms. Lucrecia and Ms. Nock. Thank you very much. Next, please. For the session 2, we have this session on external quality control. So this session is started with the country presentations of selected member countries. And the report is based on the C scores as the basis of their performance for PT on 2018 and 2019. So the result of the C score were interpreted, as well as the correction and corrective actions on failed PT results were identified, and the steps taken to improve their laboratory quality control. Thanks to Mr. Christian Hartmann of France for moderating this particular training. Next, please. So for the training on internal quality control, so there was also a presentation by selected countries, Indonesia, Thailand, India, and Philippines, in relation to the organization of the national PTs. I think this is very relevant, especially that in 2020, we were not able to hold an interlaboratory comparison due to COVID-19. And it is important that we check on the capacities of some other member countries to conduct national PT. So the discussion include the internal quality control measures, how to use internal quality control samples, how to introduce internal quality samples in analytical batches, the use of quality control charts, how to interpret the development of measurements of uncertainties, as well as the top-down approach, and how to take action in case of bad results. Thanks to Mr. Rob Dihar, GLOSOLAN Vice Chair, for giving us this particular training. Next, please. Next, please, Mr. Filippo. Siguro masuli. Okay. Another training that was conducted is on health and safety. The training started with the presentation of the survey on the knowledge of the laboratories about health and safety. I'm very happy in all of our surveys. The better side is the dominant response. So 61% of the labs are knowledgeable and 39% have no enough knowledge. However, our target is as much as possible, we reach 100% improvement in all of the member laboratories. So that's why this kind of training are very important. So the training includes the difference between the risk and the hazard, and how to minimize hazards in terms of controlling the hazards, assessment of the risk, minimizing the risk, as well as preparing for emergencies from uncontrolled hazards. So in conclusion, it is very important that each of the laboratory has a safety manual in the laboratory. With this, we thank Ms. Hanane Rui of IRD France for facilitating this very exciting activity and presentation. Next, please. Now we move to the key agenda, which is the session 3, and which is now raised as our position in the GLOSOLAN for the standard operating procedures that will be harmonized for 2020-2021. So for soil chemical properties, the parameters that were identified are available micronutrients. So these include iron, zinc, copper, manganese, and molybdenum using the DTPA method. And our regional leader, no other than my vice chair himself, Sanjay Srivastava of India. Then also we include the parameter for boron using the hot water extraction or the dilute HCl and calcium chloride. And under the leadership of our member leader from Pakistan, Ansar Farooq. Also, another SOP to be harmonized is on exchangeable acidity for aluminum and hydrogen. So we thank our regional leader from Thailand, Mr. Somsak Manipong. We also included exchangeable bases to be harmonized for 2020-2021. And these are calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium using AAS and plain photometer. The regional leader is Ms. Dr. Pushpajit Chudari of India. Next, please. So we have expanded to include SOPs on soil physical parameters. And this time we propose for 2 parameters, the texture and coarse fraction parameter using pipette and hydrometer method under the regional leadership of Ms. Renuka Silva from Sri Lanka, and the moisture content under Jamyang, Mr. Jamyang of Bhutan. Also, we included parameters for soil microbiology. So we are proposing for microbial biomass, again, under the leadership of our partners from India, Dr. Sanjay Srivastava and Dr. Ashok Patra. Still on session 3, next please, is the opinion by the SealNet members in GLOSOLAN with regards to the FAO Soils Bulletin number 74, entitled Guidelines for Quality Management in Soil and Plant Laboratories. A large majority of our participants expressed the need to upgrade the guidelines, to update the guidelines, sorry. Next, please. So I am happy to present to you the 255 laboratory participants who attended our meeting. So I can see Dr. Lucrecia, Nock, and myself, and all other, and Sir Filippo, the most handsome at the bottom right, right? Okay, next please. Next please, so I can see Dr. Christian Hartman, and most of them from the Philippines. I can see Ms. Lily Molina from Erie, and all other partners from the Department of Agriculture, Regional Soils Laboratory. I'm happy to mention that we just had our first General Assembly meeting yesterday, and we have the strong 35-member laboratories. Next, please. Again, our participants during the 4th SealNet meeting. So that's next, please. Next. And thank you very much for the 17 Asian member countries of SealNet who participated. Maraming salamat po, and God bless us all.
Many thanks, Gina. Many thanks for representing all Asian countries in SealNet. I would like now give the floor to Ms. Floria Bersch, the former or still current chair of LATSOLAN. The governance of LATSOLAN is still under discussion. That's why I'm saying this. So Floria, the floor is yours to report about the activities of the Latin American Soil Laboratory Network. Please be conscious about the time. Presentation should be as short as possible. Thank you. Floria?
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Are you listening?
Yes.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Very glad to see you again. A lot of people here. Well, I'm going to present the results of the Latin American Soil Laboratories Network from this year. Of course, we work very coordinated with the ASLAC FAO region that include all of these countries. But now in GLOSOLAN, we have 10 countries from South America, 7 countries from Mexico and Central America, all of them, and 3 countries of Caribbean. There are a lot of more countries of Caribbean that are not still included in the GLOSOLAN network. Well, as I said, we work very coordinate with the pillar 5 of ASLAC, and in this pillar, GLOSOLAN is one of the products that we want to get, and the other one is about the indicators, but GLOSOLAN is very important in this pillar. We did different things during the year, and one was the participation of many leaders in the elaboration of the harmonizing GLOSOLAN subs. We have a representative in one of each procedures, and in 2 cases, the global leader was Latin American. Since the year 2019, we decided to give a very big importance to the national networks. And in that opportunity, we decided to launch and relaunch in December 5, during the World Soil Day, all the national networks that we have in Latin America. And some of that could do that, but others are working in this during this year. And now we are working, during the 2020 with GLOSOLAN idea to reinforce these national networks. These are the national networks that we have in Latin America. There are 10 in this moment, some of that born in 2019. Well, as in that moment, we have the decision, in 2019, we have the decision to have the next meeting in Brazil in June, but it was impossible for the reason that all of us know. And but in the same week that we were have this meeting, we did the first virtual session with the participants that we can in that moment, and we have a very strong decision to do the virtual meeting in October, in the middle of October, the virtual meeting official. And we have the purpose to have a lot of training sessions. And for this reason, we invite many people. And look, we have 247 participants from 19 countries in that moment. We were very happy with this participation because I think that this media, the virtual media, is a very nice option to do that, because from all the countries we have 30, 20 participants. Look here the amount of people. Okay, in this case, we want to give the grateful from Rosa Cuevas, who was the person who began with us in this LATSOLAN network, but now she's working in other aspects of the AMEs, and we have to. We are very happy to are working now with Lucrecia, and we were very happy to have the presence of NOC in our meeting. Thank you very much. This is our situation now in this new scheme of GLOSOLAN. We have a huge amount of laboratories who include who included in the GLOSOLAN program. Now we have 150 labs from 23 countries. As I mentioned, the training was one of the most important activities during this virtual meeting, and especially in the theme of internal quality control. In this way, Miriam Ostinelli did a very nice presentations, and especially he talks about the clarification of some terms that modify in the last time as accuracy. Also, also we have some training about equipment. Everybody that assists to the meeting was very happy with the training aspects of the meeting. Also, we present one work that we did in the LATSOLAN network, that is to compare the harmonized SOPs with our own routine methodologies. And we think that this is a very important thing that we have to do. And we present to this meeting, the GLOSOLAN meeting, the propose that we continue working with both. In this case, we have some example. The green columns are the harmonized results, and pink columns are the own methodologies. You can see that, for example, for pH, that is the most satisfactory procedure that all the world use, we have a very similar comparison. But this is very nice to know for a lab, to have the certainty that both data are similar. And in this case, we can see that the lab who was outside with both methodologies. Also, we have a very happy visit or presence that was our Dr. Hartman, that he directly exposed the behavior of the behavior of LATSOLAN in the GLOSOLAN PT 2019. And then I think that he was the best person to transmit a lot of information about this PT, and especially the way that is interpretation this PT. We can see that in general in pH, all the word is okay, and LATSOLAN was okay too. In other analysis, as organic carbon, the situation is not very, very good. We have a more dispersion and a little bit more let me see, American is this, a little bit more dispersion in this variable. Also, as we have one PT in 2018 and another PT in 2019, we compare both, only including the position of satisfactory or unsatisfactory performance. And we can see that it's very grateful to know that some labs that are good in one are good in the other one too. And we can see that there are some few labs that have a improved performance for the next time. I think that this type of comparisons are important to push the labs to improve their behavior. Also, we decide the SOPs that we will be harmonized during the next year. And here is all the list. I know that Lucrecia is going to compare these and to try to decide during this meeting which are the most important to do. And we have regional leaders for each one. Also, we discuss about the other proposal as a revision of the endorsement of the SOPs only within the work groups. Well, we approved this right now in this meeting a few moments ago. And we ask to all the laboratories if they want to continue doing both procedures, the harmonized and the routine methods. And of course, Latin American is completely agree with this. Also, we agree with the revision of the bulletin, the FAO Soil Bulletin 74. But I would like to show you one thing, that is that most of us didn't know this bulletin. This is important thing to have in account. But all of us are agreed that some guide for quality management is very important to have very actualized. Thanks for your attention. This is all that I have to tell you in this opportunity.
Many thanks, Floria, for your presentation. I quickly move to the next item in the agenda. I'm sorry for that because we are a bit late. So I would like to give the floor to Mr. Joseph Uponi from Africa, actually the chair of AfriLab, for his presentation on the African Soil Laboratory Network. So Joseph, the floor is yours. Joseph, can you hear us?
No.
Yes. Can you try to talk?
Hello.
Joseph?
Yes, I'm on the line. Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah. Okay.
Will you be sharing your screen?
No.
Okay, Filippo, please play the presentation from Africa.
Okay. Thank you very much, Filippo. It's wonderful to be part of this meeting this time around, even though it's online. And I'd like to give a quick report on AfriLab and our activities in 2020. Acknowledge my vice chairs, Lesogo and Mohammed in Niger, for their input. The highlights of our activities include the harmonization of SOPs, formation of some GLOSOLANs, participation in the soil spectroscopy meeting, and then, of course, the second AfriLab meeting. I'll give a little more detail on each of these ones as we proceed. Let's begin with the harmonization of SOPs. For 2020, AfriLab led the harmonization of SOP on Melic-3 phosphorus. The scope of this SOP was extended to include exchangeable bases and micronutrients, and the final document will be ready by November 30th. Increasing the scope meant we had to do a little extra work on the document. That's why it hasn't been ready. Also, we want to acknowledge all the several members of the AfriLab that participated in harmonization of other SOPs that we were not really leading, but we had active brethren, friends from Zimbabwe and other countries that participated. I will talk more about the other SOPs that we are going to do in 2021 later. Next slide. In the formation of GLOSOLANs, we have found that there's been a rapid increase in membership of AfriLab between last year and this year. We have over 100 and almost 120 something first laboratories now represented, and these are distributed among 28 African countries. Form their GLOSOLAN. We are hoping to galvanize them to come together among the different nations to form their national laboratory networks. Some of the countries still have controversies on designating their national reference laboratories. We are hoping that we'll settle all that as we go into 2021. However, we are encouraging active individuals to take initiative to mobilize laboratories in their countries, especially where no laboratory has been designated as a national reference laboratory yet. That will help to get their GLOSOLAN moving while they are identifying their national reference laboratory. For nations where they already have their national reference laboratories, we are encouraging those laboratories to actually take the initiative and make sure that they mobilize all the other labs in their country so that they can form a group. Some of the national reference laboratories have not been able to galvanize other laboratories in their country. And we hope to actively pursue this in 2021. Next slide. This slide just shows the growth in membership over the last 2 years. You can see it's been almost geometric. With the increasing number of members also, it means that we have to look for a way to really keep in touch with everybody. I think the COVID era has enhanced the use of internet services now and Zoom meetings to be able to hold meetings. So that may make it easier for us to be able to organize ourselves into different working groups. But I'm expecting that the growth will even be much more because a lot of people and laboratories are showing more interest now to join the network. Next slide. We had our second AfriLab meeting. You know, we are a young regional laboratory. We had our second meeting this year, and it was quite successful. We had the meeting in 2 sessions. One was in English, the other was in French, and then we finalized with 1 session that had translation from English to French. Essentially, we had a training on equipment installation, use, and maintenance by personnel from Pucci Lab Technique in Switzerland. This was really very interesting, and a lot of people showed appreciation for that training, because one of our critical hindrance in Africa is actually the issue of maintenance of laboratory equipment. And we hope in 2021 to explore this a bit further and probably address some specific equipment that are more popular amongst people, and be able to get some materials that will be readily handy for use both in English and French. We also had a training session, especially in the Francophone session, on internal and external quality control, where we emphasize the use of internal samples for control, and also participation in proficiency testing as a means of external quality control. A working group is already being set up now to see how we can set up regional proficiency testing scheme, and we'll draw from the experience of other regions that have organized such proficiency testing schemes. One of the greatest challenges we are having is how to be able to move samples across borders. But while we are not able to do, while we are waiting to do that, we are encouraging the national laboratories to start their own proficiency testing schemes. There, they don't need any border controls, so it should be possible to be able to start such schemes. I know in Nigeria, they're already strategizing on how to start one next year. Next slide. For 2021, we have proposed the SOPs that we intend to harmonize, and those who are going to help to harmonize those SOPs. We are planning to have an SOP on cation exchange capacity and exchangeable basis by the ammonium acetate method, and 3 of our colleagues will be taking charge of that. Take Short and Die from Zimbabwe, Lesotho, my vice chair, and Suleiman Chaudlani from Niger. They will be working on that. We'll also have another SOP on exchangeable acidity by potassium chloride method. And I and Rose and Dango from Cameroon will be handling that SOP. We are planning also to make an SOP on available micronutrients, that is iron, zinc, copper, manganese, and molybdenum, using DTPA and EDTA. And to work on the DTPA one, Suleiman Dambe from Mali will be handling that, and the one with EDTA will be handled by Tembikosi Daisy from Zimbabwe. Lastly, we will also work on an SOP on the quasi-total elements by digestion using Aquarija. And 4 of our colleagues will be working on that. Marie-Pierre Tine from Senegal, Egbe Williams from Nigeria, Rose Ndango from Cameroon, and Jeru Gachini from Kenya. We are hoping that before the end of the year 2021, we should have been able to prepare these SOPs and try to harmonize them. That's the major drive. We are also aware that many of our friends are interested in soil spectroscopy, even though most of the labs do not have the required equipment, but the few that have are already participating in the spectroscopy subgroup of GLOSOLAN, and we hope that more labs will be able to acquire the equipment and subsequently be able to participate also in the soil spectroscopy. I think that's the plan for now for the African lab. Next slide. Thank you very much for your attention.
Many thanks, Joseph. It was very interesting. I'm now giving the floor to the chair of the NINA Soil Laboratory Network. So we are referring to the Near East and North Africa. So Mr. Abdelmajid Zouari from Morocco, the floor is yours. I apologize already for the delay we are having. I guess we will close in maximum 20 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes. I don't know if I have to share the screen or Filippo can give
as
the
you prefer.
presentation.
As you prefer.
From you,
you can share your screen.
Yeah. I will try to share if it works. Yeah. It's okay. It's you are viewing the presentation. Sorry,
No,
can you see?
I cannot see.
Can you see the presentation?
No.
No, I cannot see.
No. So I prefer that you, if you can.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah. I think if Filippo can give.
No, I'm displaying it. Tell me when you want me to change the slide.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
It's okay. So, okay, thank you very much. Donc, it's a great pleasure for me to participate to this meeting, this interesting meeting, representing the NINA lab as a chairman. So, as we are recently established this network, so I will be talk you about, especially about what we have done in our last meeting for establishing this network. Next, please. So the meeting was organized virtually due to COVID-19. So it was organized by the Global Soil Partnership and GLOSOLAN governance, and was opened by Mr. Eduardo Mansour and Andre, and also Guriev. So 82 experts from 44 laboratories participated to this meeting from 13 countries. So especially Algeria, Bahrain, Iran, Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, Morocco, Palestine, Sudan, Syria, Tunisia, United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. So the nearest and North Africa Soil Laboratory Network aims to facilitate the exchange of experiences among national reference soil laboratories through strengthening the performance of laboratories through use of standardized methods and protocols, harmonization of soil analysis results, so that soil information would be comparable and interpretable across laboratories, countries, and regions. Next, please. So the objective of the first NINA Lab meeting were to establish the regional network and its governance, agree on the activities to implement in the region in 2020 as per the work plan of GLOSOLAN, collect regional inputs on GLOSOLAN work. Next, please. So the meeting was organized into 3 sessions. The first one was focused on the presentation of GLOSOLAN activities and the objectives and the presentation of each laboratory participating in the meeting, status, needs, and expectation regarding GLOSOLAN and the implementation of the NINA Lab. The second session of the meeting was dedicated to training session on internal and external quality control and health and safety in the labs. The last session, participants discussed and agreed on the 2020 and 2021 work plan of NINA Lab, the position of NINA Lab in GLOSOLAN, and elected their chair and vice chairs. The next, please. So concerning the points of status of participating laboratories, participants were given the opportunity to present their laboratory through laboratory facilities, laboratory staff, areas of improvement, and the expectation related to the establishment and the implementation of NINA Lab reflect the needs expressed in the above listed area for improvement. Please, next. So the training, focused on in the first training on internal and external quality controls. So it was done by Mr. Robert De Heyer, Mr. Christian Hartmann, and it was around preparation of quality control samples, how to do it, and their use within laboratories activities, especially in analytical batches. Also, some interesting works, ideas about external quality control, especially proficiency testing, how to organize it and how to do it, and how to get benefit from its results and its objective. The second training was about health and safety and was done by Hanan Arwi from IRD, France. So it was around laboratory safety, hazard, and risk prevention. And I think that it's a question for the majority of the laboratories dealing with soil analysis. The next, please. So about position of NINA Lab in GLOSOLAN. Donc, Ms. Lucrezia Canon introduced participants to GLOSOLAN and asked for their opinion on the standard operating procedures, because GLOSOLAN should work on harmonizing in 2020 and 2000 and the identification of regional leaders, because we are recently established our network, so we have to introduce ourselves to these procedures and how to be organized, or how to participate to these interesting things. So in addition to the SOPs, which are already on the agenda of GLOSOLAN, NINA Lab proposed the network to work also on the following SOPs, especially texture and coarse fraction by pipette method and hydrometer, dry bulk density, total heavy metals by digestion using aquaregia method, CUC by ammonium acetate, exchangeable bases by EDT, exchangeable bases also by flame photometry, and available macronutrients, especially iron, zinc, copper, and manganese, and so on. Next, please. So, and also additionally to this, participants identified methods to harmonize also to be planned in 2021, like boron in soil extract by chloramine method, total boron, chloride and sulfite in soil extract, soil water retention curve, and soil aggregates stability. And also the participant expressed the need to update the guidelines of the FAO Soil Bulletin 74. Next, please. So at the end of the meeting, the participants elect their structure as the chairman, the vice chairs, and for the chairman, Mr. Abdelmajid Zouari, I am honored to be the chairman of this network. Mr. Allah Khallouf from Damascus, Syria, was elected as vice chair of NINA Lab for the nearest sub-region, and Ms. Hanan Nabil from Morocco and from the Laboratory of Pedology in INFI Morocco was nominated as a vice chair of the North Africa sub-region. Next, please. Next slide. Okay. So how to organize the next meeting, because we have just starting our establishment. So unfortunately, due to the world pandemic, donc the first NINA Lab meeting was done organized virtually. But many of the participants appreciated this, because it has facilitated the access to a big number of participants to the meeting. This allowed all participants to be more confident with the powerful tool of video meeting. Both advantages and disadvantages were discussed, especially in some areas when we have bad network and connection with the network connection of internet. But after discussion, the majority of the participants suggested to continue organizing NENA-Lab meeting online in order to allocate resources for trainings and other areas of improvement, such as equipment and training. And I think that it's the end, and thank you very much for your attention.
Many, many thanks, Abdelmajid, for your presentation. Sorry again for going quickly through it. I'm now giving the floor to Europe and Eurasia and to the chair of GLOSOLAN, so Georgi Gambashide from Georgia. Georgi, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to present our nice network, GLOSOLAN, which I like every day more and more. And I think most of our members do similarly. I can say that unfortunately, we had many plans this year, which we planned, and we had communication within our network to do some other extra activities like trainings, and we had some communication with our colleagues, but unfortunately due to COVID-19 problems, so we could not perform many of those activities. But I do hope that next year will be much better and we can continue active participation and in-person meetings, which is, I think is very much appreciated and is very valuable. So I will very briefly say about our network, which is also growing very fast, and the number of laboratories registered in GLOSOLAN is increasing day by day. And I think there are still lots of laboratories which are willing to be a part of it. And I think by end of the year, we will have even more laboratories. And currently we have 122 laboratories. And taking into account that also GLOSOLAN is young, and in general also GLOSOLAN has not so long history, I think this is very good result. And in total, those laboratories comes from 55 countries in total. So network is already quite large for the regional network, and very strong and very experienced countries and laboratories are part of it. And I'm really proud that I have intensive communication with those people, and we really share lots of knowledge with them. And I will shortly say regarding SOPs, so I mainly concentrated my presentation on SOPs where our members of GLOSOLAN took leadership and played an important role in development, or not development, but harmonization of the SOPs. And I just mentioned those where our members were leading or co-leading. This was nitrogen, total nitrogen using Kendall method, mineral nitrogen, which was leading, also led by Maria Romic from Croatia, and Kedal nitrogen co-leaded by Špela. So our co-chair and nice colleague from Slovenia, and total organic carbon with using wet oxidation according to Turin method by Elena from Russia. And she will give presentation about her work and comparative studies of GLOSOLAN SOP and Turin method on Friday, as I remember. And it will be interesting for other members as well to see results. And as also electric conductivity using saturated soil paste extract, which also led by Maria Romic from Croatia. So thanks a lot, our nice colleagues, for their input. And of course, many other members participated in different SOPs and also in these SOPs harmonization as well. And of course, as our colleagues from different regions, we had also our second GLOSOLAN meeting, which was also virtual, unfortunately. But again, this is good opportunity, and it was nice to have it. And we underlined like main outcomes which was stressed during this meeting. So most important, of course, we had to propose SOPs which network would like to harmonize into 2021. So starting from 2020, of course, and of importance to encourage establishment and in some cases where we already have networks, and we have seen examples and case studies from Belgium, from Ukraine, from Hungary during our meeting, where they already have networks or just recently established and have some interactions and exchange and even organizing proficiency testing, like in Belgium, and they have already long experience for this. And this is great because we like in Georgia and many other countries where we had no experience to have such network, we are just taking actions to establish our national networks, and everyone agrees that this should be done. And we are currently, for example, in Georgia, preparing some framework in Georgian language to invite laboratories, and we have some mutual agreements that they are willing to be part of our national network. And of course, we stressed the point that proficiency testing, so external quality control, is important to have it on regional and later where we do not have yet on national level as well, and to increase capacities of the reference laboratories or maybe some other laboratories who would like to be a part in preparation of the proficiency samples for proficiency testing, but mainly, of course, reference laboratory should take lead in this. And of course, importance of implementing internal quality control inside the laboratories, which improve the quality and like in daily routine works. And I think many laboratories have large experience, good experience in this, and those who do not have, for this network is the best way to exchange ideas and also to take examples and to follow the guidelines which was prepared for this within GLOSOLAN. And here are the SOPs proposed within GLOSOLAN, which we would like to harmonize in 2021. So these are total elements in soils, total element content, which will be led by Christophe from Belgium and Mikhail from United Kingdom. Also total elements, but in this case, not with oxidation, but with like direct measurements, which will be led by Beta from Netherlands, and also quasi-total elements using Aquaregia, which is a widespread method, and also in parallel with nitric acid and hydrogen peroxide, which I will take part, and also available micronutrients, as other our colleagues from different regional networks also mentioned. So we would like to do similar using extraction of DTPA and EDTA, which will be led by Olena from Ukraine and Lauris from Latvia, and exchangeable basis and cation exchange capacity using the cobalt hexamine method, led by Beta and Alan from Portugal and Beta from Netherlands again. And also soil moisture, which we underline to be important in many parameters. So using gravimetric method, and Spela from Slovenia will be leading this work. And also to be in line with the soil biodiversity, we expressed interest to develop or harmonize microbial biomass C and nitrogen using chloroform fumigation extraction, where our colleagues from Turkey and Portugal will take a lead. And at the end, available phosphate using TRUOG method, which was also highly interested by some of colleagues, and Valmire from Latvia will be leading this work. So this was very briefly what I would like to say. And again, many thanks to our colleagues who are and were very active during this year. And I hope that we can do more next year and be more successful. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you very much, Georgie. I now pass the floor to Mr. Rob De Heyer, representative actually and facilitator of the Regional Soil Laboratory Network for the Pacific. So Rob, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm trying to work out. Filippo, can you, what am I doing? Filippo, can you put that
yes,
presentation up? Because I've done something wrong.
Yeah, can you see it?
Oh yeah, thanks.
Sure. Tell me when you want me to change the slides.
Okay, well, thank you, and hi, good evening, everybody. A lot of our Pacific friends that I represent it's tomorrow there already, and they'll be all tucked up in bed. But there are a few of us online for here. Thanks, Filippo. Check. Change. All right. ASPAC, we're a little bit different to most regional bodies. We've been around for about 30 years now as a legal entity under association. So we're an incorporated energy organisation. And in our name, Australasia, it's defined as Australia, New Zealand, and the neighbouring countries of Southeast Asia and the South Pacific. Now, the Southeast Asian countries have joined the SEALNet. While we still support them in our PT, or some in our PT, they've moved on. We're actually governed by an executive committee, which is representatives from each state of Australia, New Zealand, and now the Pacific. And we do have membership fees, and that goes to sponsoring laboratories, running our PT, training, research, and we do have a part-time executive officer. And we also sponsor students with travel awards to conferences. And as such, we have a set of subcommittees that deliver on our ASPAC executives. Thanks, Filippo. Thank you. I'll go pretty quickly because I've talked about this before. And basically, our aims and priorities in ASPAC, and has been for the last 30 years, as I said, pretty much the same as that as GLOSOLAN. And that's why it's been a really good marriage and why ASPAC has been a good representation of GLOSOLAN in our region. Thanks, Filippo. Okay, we just recently had our annual general meeting, and as an incorporated organisation, we're legally bound to have an agenda and run an annual general meeting. And this year we had our executive with an election year, so all the executive committee members were elected, and we have been able to, with our constitution, add Dr. Mohammed Abdul Qadir, who is now representing all the Pacific laboratories. All the committees reported, and they were and their reports accepted, and it was decided that our membership should stay the same. Thanks, Filippo. All right. At the ASPAC, we have a Laboratory Proficiency Committee report. This committee runs our proficiency trial. We have four samples 3 times a year, and good performance in that can give you certification for those tests. This year, they launched the physical soil testing program, and we had 3 tests: particle size, that's sand, silt and clay, either by hydrometer or pipette method, and also MIR, and available water capacity, which is about 3rd bar moisture and 15 bar moisture. It was by invitation, and so a lot of the laboratories were quite proficient, and as expected, the performance was quite good, and it gave us quite a lot of confidence to be able to maybe expand this program in the future. Thanks, Philippa. We have a methods committee which looks at either the development or the improvement of methods, and the taking up of methods in our region. And this year they looked at the issues of contamination when grinding plant tissue, a few things about issues with aluminium and iron contamination in plant material due to soil contamination. We looked at a new methodology, or a different methodology of outgassing the carbon dioxide created in analysing bicarbonate P extracts, and also the issues that some laboratories are having with colloidal and ester presence in their extracts. And again, and we're also working with the initiative of GLOSOLAN in looking at the regional spectroscopy and what we're going to do with that. We've been having discussions on the formation of a regional working group, and then possible user groups as well. And just today, a proposed regional workshop is likely to take place on the 10th of December. Thanks, Philippa. We also have a committee which works with a group called FAO-GSP. FAO-GSP is part of the Australian Fertiliser Australia, which is a advisory body and controlling body of fertiliser industry in Australia. They have a code of conduct, and they certify agronomists in delivering interpretation. And so ASPAC has a major role, particularly around the methods. FAO-GSP will accredit agronomists and laboratories, but have a compulsory set of methods that need to be used for that and their requirement. And what we've done this year is we've added a single point phosphorus buffer index, a PBI, which was developed by ASPAC scientists or people working in ASPAC a number of years ago. And a decision was made to retain the ability to use Cobalt K when looking at exchangeable potassium to make recommendations for fertiliser requirements. So that's a role that ASPAC has in the fertiliser industry in advising particularly on methodology and interpretation. Thanks, Philippa. We also, as I said before, sponsored training and travel awards. We held a 2-day soil and plant analysis training workshop for laboratory technicians late last year, and also, and obviously our face-to-face workshop this year had to be put off due to the pandemic issues. We held a online training workshop on the 29th of October for our Pacific laboratory members, and the success of that has got us considering that possibly we can look to do more online webinars and online training in the future. Our targeted travel awards for this year were targeted to the Australian and New Zealand Soil Science Conference, which was to be held in Cairns in December, but obviously it's been postponed to hopefully July next year. We've also received funding from the Australian government to support participants from the Pacific nations to attend. Thanks, Philippa. All right, and as I said, we ran a Pacific laboratory training workshop. Just an idea of the agenda, and the idea was to get back to basics and set a level that all laboratories should be operating at. And from the discussion there, that the laboratories are now going away, considering what areas they need specialised training in, and we will then develop training modules to meet their specific needs, such as maintenance and operation of ICP or similar to that. Okay, thanks, Philippa. All right, rushed through that a little bit, but there you go. Thank you.
Many thanks, Rob, and sorry for keeping you awake for so long. I know it's very late in Australia. Last presentation.
It's tomorrow.
Indeed, we lost many participants from the Pacific already. Last presentation, but not least, is from North America. So I'm giving the floor to Christopher Lee from the USDA. Christopher, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm going to attempt to share my screen here.
At least for me, the volume of your voice is very low. I don't know if this applies.
Try to get closer to the speaker. Is that better? Can you hear that?
A bit better, yes.
Okay. So thank you, Lucrezia and Nominee and others for organizing this session. My name is Chris Lee. I'm with the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, Soil Plant Science Division, National Soil Survey Center, Kellogg Soil Survey Laboratory. And a little bit about the Kellogg Soil Survey Laboratory. It's known as the KSSL. It's located centrally in the United States, approximately where that blue star is on the map. And the picture you see there is the building that houses the KSSL and National Soil Survey Center in Lincoln, Nebraska. The KSSL is a full characterization laboratory that conducts more than 30 analysis, chemical, physical, mineralogical, and some biological properties. And we receive soils from soil survey project offices and universities, other cooperators, government entities, and non-government organizations. And we generate data to support conservation activities, assessing soil health, wetlands, and ecological sites. And in addition, we maintain and develop standards for methods used to classify soils for soil taxonomy. And we have a publicly accessible database of historical soil analytical data from all 50 states and worldwide. And we also curate one of the world's largest collections of analyzed soil samples. The KSSL became involved with GLOSOLAN approximately 3 years ago with our NRCS SPSD Director, David Limbo, in cooperation with GSP Pillar 5, and was further supported in 2018, 2019 by KSSL chemist Richard Ferguson, who represented the NRCS at the annual GSP GLOSOLAN meetings, and also our NSSC Director, Dave Hoover. And KSSL has similar interest to GLOSOLAN, so it seems a good fit because we both see the value in harmonizing standards of soil analysis and quality control. And as has been discussed, like in North America, several The same named analysis may be conducted through different SOP, creating some confusion and varying standards of quality control throughout. So in fiscal year 2020, the main contributions by the NSSC was editing and reviewing GLOSOLAN documents. We participated in the Mid-IR Soil Spectroscopy Initiative and also participated in GLOSOLAN questionnaires and surveys. Many of the KSSL staff were more than happy to review and provide technical assistance and editorial review of GLOSOLAN documents. Here's a list of some of the SOP and documents that we reviewed. And in reviewing these, the KSSO was inspired by GLOSOLAN. We're in the process of editing version 6 of the KSSL Laboratory Methods Manual. It's SSIR 42, if you're familiar with that. And in addition to updating the technical aspects of the methods, we also wanted to update the format. And we liked the format that GLOSOLAN had adopted so well that we went ahead and incorporated that into our method, our SOP documents as well. And we've gotten great feedback on that so far. It's been things like better organized, greater clarity, easy to follow. And overall, it just created a much more user-friendly document. We're also involved in the spectroscopy initiative. Dave Hoover and Rich Ferguson met with other GLOSOLAN participants in November of 2019 for a planning meeting that was hosted at the NSSC. They developed the Mid-IR Soil Spectroscopy Concept Note, which was later accepted by at the first GLOSOLAN plenary on spectroscopy in September 2020. And work was begun to get organized on how other labs could send samples into the KSSL for mid-IR and conventional analysis. So sample submission guidelines were developed and spreadsheets were put together by Rich Ferguson, Fenny, Keith Shepard, and Christian Amudo. And pictorial guides were also developed to assist with shipping samples into the KSSL, because one of our main goals is that no samples will be lost, in customs or due to containment, packaging, labeling, or shipping. So that's one of our main goals. And with that, I'd like to say thanks on behalf of the SPSD, NSSC, and KSSL for the opportunity to collaborate and contribute to GLOSOLAN.
Many thanks, Chris, for your presentation.
Many thanks, Christian. It was very good and informative. Well, we are very late, so I'm not sure if we can give the floor to participants to ask questions to all presenters from the resonance. Eventually, we can, we can provide the email addresses so that we can ask, send the questions, or actually participants can directly ask questions to the presenters. Before closing the meeting today, I would like to point out a thing related to Resonance that is about the organization of the next Resonance meetings. So to all Resonance, to the participants to all Resonance meetings, we ask them if they would like to continue having the meetings online, or to have them online 1 year yes and 1 year not, or to have the meetings only in person. Because having meetings online and having meetings in person have pros and cons. So the conclusions from the discussion that occurred in the Resonance was that participants prefer to keep on having the meetings online, or to have the meetings online for 1 year and the next year to have it in persons. I don't want to anticipate any decision making, also because it's late, but I would like to ask you if you would agree on the proposal, and we will talk about it again on Friday because I'm putting together the work plan. So at that time, I will ask you to express an opinion on it. But for now, just please get an idea and start thinking about what you would like. So the proposal is this, is that the future resonance meetings, if we organize them online, we dedicate only one day to decision making, like a couple of hours as we have been doing this year. And for the part regarding the trainings, we organize webinars in different times, maybe one in the, I'm talking about European time. So one in the morning maybe and one in the afternoon, so that we can meet the needs of the different time zones. We give less workload to the trainers because they give the training only once or twice for all the regions instead of repeating it 5 or 6 times. So this would be the proposal I will ask you about on Friday regarding the organization of the next resonance meetings. So just think about it if you like it, or if you want to continue having the resonance meetings as we are currently doing. So 3 or 4 days meetings, including training sessions and 2 hours for decision making. So I'm very sorry that we are almost 1 hour late on our agenda. It was really not planned, but thank you so much for staying with us until the end, and we are looking forward to see you tomorrow. And many thanks to all presenters and to all of you that actually contributed to the activities that we show you today. So thank you so much, and see you tomorrow at the same time. Have a good day or night.
Thank you. Everyone ako. Sabay to everyone.